Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's going on, man? Hope you guys are doing great today. I know my day's going just fine. Another great day, right? Another great day in recovery. Another great day to be alive. Yes, it is. So what's going on, man? Well, check this out. If you guys know how I like to get my videos started, always with a moment of silence followed by the ringing in, so we can get this mode right and just get the mood set so that we allow these beautiful energies to come into our lives to kind of ground us down, you know what I mean, to get us to where we have an open mind, right, and to perhaps see some answers, right, to whatever it is that's hindering you today. And so yeah, let's ring in. If you would indulge me in a moment of silence, please. Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Eternal Buddha Shakyamuni, please guide me. Let's all guide each other. Let's guide our mind. Let's bring the energies that we want, the energies that we think of, to bring us a better way of looking at things, a better way of seeing things, a better way of feeling things, a better way of communicating perhaps, a better way to ground us, and a reminder that we need that groundness, that we need to be grounded so that we can have the right view. All right, thank you. All right, well, now that we got that little part of the mojo in movement there, right? Because that's what you're doing, right? When you're perhaps reciting a mantra, perhaps reciting a sutra, or a prayer, or just talking to the energies of the world, to that higher power of you, right? And that's the sound, that's the vibration, that's that energy that is you're letting that out so that it reciprocates. You know what I mean? Because the answers are in the vibration, I believe. The answers are in that thing that you communicate with, and when you're communicating in that sense, you're communicating in that moment, right? And there's nothing else hindering you when you're doing that. So that means you're vulnerable. The curtains are down right there. And that's the reciprocation. That's when the reciprocation comes in, when you're in that vulnerable state, because you're just pleading, you're asking, you're praying, you're chanting, you're singing, you're feeling, right? And when you're doing that, when you're able to feel that and not be numb to whatever it is that's bounding you down, then things start happening, right? Things start happening because you got no control over the phenomena that you cannot see. You know what I'm saying? That's the beauty of phenomena, because you can't see it. You don't know when it comes. You don't know when this reciprocation happens. You just start seeing things move and change in your life out of the practice, right? And yeah, so it's a cool thing. You know, I don't really have a topic to talk about today, and that's okay. You know what I mean? That's okay, because it allows us to just talk and to communicate, and I'm just gonna in a sense throw things out there today just to to maybe stir something in you, because that's what's been happening in my life in the last since my last video. Things have been like that. Things have just been thrown at me, and I've been kind of just dealing with these things. Some good, some are not, and some are and some are just, at a, if you want to put it in the perspective of a register, in a sense of high, medium, and low. Some of them have been really high impacting things in my life, and some just are minute, and some are kind of right in the middle, right? So, and that's life. You know what I mean? That is life. That is living a life of spirituality, of recovery, and living a life with the suffering. And how you dictate your life that way strongly depends on what your next move is, right? I mean, it's there's no other way to put it, I guess, because that's in reality, that's the truth. And wherever you spend the most time is going to dictate the next move, right? Now, one of the things that I thought about this past week or so is the fact that community has been a really big part of my daily life, how I've been moving through the week with, emotionally dealing with some things in my personal life, and then and not only that, but also understanding the practice in my spiritual journey and my recovery journey, and how that's been working out, because it's in a sense rigorous at times, you know what I'm saying? And I put myself in those situations because I want to obviously keep my recovery in recovery mode, right? Because it's very hard to it's hard to revert to just daily life, right? And recovery a lot of times can just get thrown on the back burner, and you're dealing with the here and now of your daily life, which consists of a bunch of suffering, you know what I mean, at different levels, right? And one of the things that has kept things at bay for me has been involving myself in the community, in my community, in little things that I do with my spirituality, in my Buddhist community that I participate in. And here recently I attended a new meeting, a recovery meeting, which was really cool. A friend of mine invited me to the meeting, and it was nice to step back into the rooms, per se, because a lot of times, even in a good path that you're taking, you can derail yourself from attending those meetings. And here's one of the things that I find is that a lot of times I'm not attending the meeting for me. A lot of times my presence could be for someone else, and I got to remember that. I got to remember that your presence in a meeting matters to the newcomer. It matters to the person who just has a day of sobriety. It matters to that person. It matters because they see you. They see your presence, because your presence has an aura to it. You know what I'm saying? And you know as well as I do, if you have any days or any time that you're dealing, if you've ever struggled with any type of addiction or any type of mental health type stuff, like personally myself, PTSDs and childhood trauma and trauma in general, and in dealing with grief and anger and those type of things, you understand that when you start involving yourself with the community, and it starts changing you. You know what I mean? It starts changing you. It starts changing that mental thought process of you, and because a lot of times there's doubt. You know, even in years of sobriety, there could be doubt of some sort. You know what I mean? That's one of the things I want to talk about a little bit, I guess, is that doubt. Because doubt comes in many different forms, man. You know what I mean? Doubt can come in many forms for different people. And even the simplest things as saying things like, oh, I can't do that because I have ADHD, or I can't do that because I've never been good at that, or anything like that. That's doubt. You know what I'm saying? That's part of the doubt. Now, when you do that, you're putting a cap to your mental thought process. You know, automatically you're capping your mental thought process that you can't go beyond that, because that's where you stay. You set a plateau for yourself, and now because you keep saying that I have ADHD, or I can't do this, I've always been this type of person, or whatever, right? That happens, you know what I mean? And that's the delusion of the suffering that we live in, right? Because the repetitiveness of you being in a life like that, or a thought process like that, has you like that, right? It goes back kind of to the old saying, it's kind of hard to teach an old dog new tricks. But you know what? It's possible. And it can happen. And you know why I know? Because it's happened for me. And if it could happen for me, in all the crazy stuff that I've done and been involved in, and just all the suffering that I've gone through, if it could happen for a person like me, man, it could have happened for a person like you. You know what I mean? I strongly believe that. And that's because I've followed paths of the community. And it's the only way to do it. You know what I mean? It's the only way to do it, because you're only as good as what you allow yourself to be involved with, what you allow yourself to be prone to, whatever you allow yourself to be teachable as. You know what I'm saying? You have to be vulnerable at some point in your life to move forward past adversity. And getting back to the doubt, I want to kind of read some things here from a book that I've really dove deep in this book and found a lot of beautiful things and helpful things that has helped me in my journey of spirituality, number one, recovery, and of dealing with that mental aspect of the suffering, which everything that we are dealing with in our lives starts there in that mental void, right? In that mental little circle that that bubble that we're floating around in everywhere we go, right? It's everything that we do, everything that we say, everything that we're involved in, everything that is of your life starts in that mental thought process, right? So this book has really been an eye-opener, and I've learned a lot of things and adopted practices because of reading this book. And it's a beautiful book, and it's a book by the Dalai Lama and Thubten Chodron. It's following in the Buddha's footsteps, and it's this book right here. Very nice book. It's it's got a lot of beautiful insight. It goes really deep into mental formations and mental meditative states, which is really one of the things that I enjoy about it. You know what I mean? And there's a part in here, it's just a page and a half that talks about doubt, and I want to read it and kind of go through the page and a half and talk about it as we read it. You know what I mean? Just because I think it's really insightful and helpful, and you're gonna see that it's right down the path of a recovery program, of a recovery life, spirituality, how recovery and spirituality kind of meet, and how it helps, right? And I love that about practicing the Dharma, because it really breaks things down. You know what I mean? It really breaks life down so that you understand, and so that you can. It's like the Dharma's like it's like Play-Doh. You know what I'm saying? And like clay, not Play-Doh as in Play-Doh, the Aristotle Play-Doh. No, I mean like clay, because you can that the Dharma allows you to form your life however it fits perfectly, because you can form it and it fits into your life and your life's problems however you need it. You know what I mean? Not however Bob needs it, or however, Jennifer needs it, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's how you need it in your life and your suffering. That's the beauty, the phenomena of the Dharma, and it's so beautiful. And I like, reading this book. That's Dharma for me. You know what I'm saying? Dharma is not something that you're just that it comes in just one book. You know what I'm saying? Or by just hearing one person's definition of Dharma and the practice, right? It's of many different Buddhas, right? Because we're all Buddhas. We all have the Buddha nature, and that is how Shakyamuni Buddha himself attained enlightenment, through the Dharma of all the other Buddhas. You know what I'm saying? Of people who've already gone, of the Buddhas of the past who've gone, who've been there and done that, which fits right in the same type of concept of recovery, because that's what we in recovery do. We're not doing the things that we're coming up with ourselves. We're doing things that come from your mentor's thought process, of people in the room, of whatever program that you're in, and whatever it is that you do to maintain your sobriety, maintain your recovery of whatever it is that consists of, right? Whether it's addiction, whether it's mental health, whatever it is, right? And you're moving forward from the adversity through that, right? Through other people that have gone and tested the waters, in a sense, right? So, doubt is a big part of staying in the suffering, man. You know what I'm saying? And doubt is indecisive. And one type of doubt, there's a type of doubt that involves seeking answers to genuine questions we have about the path or the meditation techniques that we do in my spiritual path, right? And I'm going to read a little bit of what's happening here in the book, so just bear with me, and I'm going to read a little bit, and we'll read a paragraph or two, and then I'll discuss it a little bit with you and give you my take on it, and we'll move forward, right? Now, the doubt invites curiosity and can usually be cleared up by consulting our spiritual mentor or acknowledgeable Dharma friend. Which that first paragraph right there is right down 12-step spirituality and recovery, right? Having a mentor, right? Having that sponsor, you know what I mean? And I'll read that part again. It says doubt is indecisive. One type of doubt involves seeking answers to genuine questions we have about the path or the meditation technique. That doubt invites curiosity and can usually be cleared up by consulting our spiritual mentor or knowledgeable Dharma friend. Same thing in recovery. You know what I mean? When you're new in recovery, when you're new, you got questions. You're doubting systems. You're doubting, man. How many times have and I've been to quite a few recovery centers, man. So and quite a few 12-step meetings of different sorts. You know what I'm saying? And so I've seen this firsthand, and I've been the one to be the doubter. You know what I'm saying? So so I really get that, and when you can have something or someone that you can reach out to and then hear other people's responses, I guess, to the question, it's really insightful. You know what I'm saying? It's really insightful, and it starts clawing away at that doubt of you. You know what I'm saying? Which is really beautiful, because when you're asking questions and you're putting yourself in that's fearlessness, man. That is you putting yourself out there. You know what I'm saying? That's you starting to tear down them curtains of whatever, that's keeping you hindered, right? It's beautiful stuff, man. And, another type of doubt, a useless spinning of thoughts, is deluded. We have so many options to choose from that we get caught in doubt. Should I go do this? Should I go to this Dharma center or that one? Should I rely on this teacher or that one? Should I ordain? Am I doing this meditation correctly? How long should my meditation sessions be? We may doubt our abilities or doubt that it is possible to actualize our spiritual goals. We are mirrored in the quicksand of indecision and confusion. And man, how many times I could remember myself going from one meeting to the next, you know what I'm saying? And then hating it, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are these people talking about? This just don't mix here. I doubt that their way is any good, because I'm still in the suffering. I'm still in the delusional mental thought process. So I move on to another meeting, another program, and sometimes revert back to the addiction, right? Which was a lot of the case for myself. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, whatever. As soon as I walked out of the meeting, okay, cool, I'm getting high, right? And it's like that for a lot of people still today. You know what I'm saying? But because you went is a point for you, because that's planting the seed, man. You know what I'm saying? That's planting the seed because you allowed yourself to be teachable for that moment. You know what I'm saying? And that, man, that goes a long way. I can guarantee you that, man. And deluded doubt specifically concerns Dharma teachings. It seems that rebirth doesn't exist. Now, I'm not sure, but it sounds like emptiness means nothing exists. It is really possible to become is it really possible to become a Buddha? Isn't that just fantasy and wishful thinking? Appearing so real and important, doubt immobilizes us. It's like trying to sew with two-pointed needle. We can't go this way, we can't go that way. Diluted doubt inhibits generating the faith and confidence in the three jewels that makes our mind receptive to learning and practicing the Dharma. As a result, even if we meet the Buddha Dharma and encounter an excellent spiritual mentor, the benefit we receive from them is lost to us. We resemble someone who goes to a land of great wealth, but lacking a bag is unable to take anything away with him. You know, how many times I can remember just doing that wishful thinking, you know what I'm saying? Like am I really gonna have years of sobriety? Because all I've known my whole life is that if I put a little bit of this and a little bit of that into this vessel, then that mental formation, that mental thought process doesn't allow me to suffer the suffering that I'm suffering. So I think, right? Because it's all of moment to moment to moment, right? I could get high one moment and then a few minutes later I'm suffering again, you know what I'm saying? So the suffering cyclical cycle of samsara continues. You know what I'm saying? And when you can understand that the dukkha in your life is always gonna be there, but at different levels, I believe. Because it's all of impermanence, right? It doesn't last forever. But when we get stuck in that cyclical world of samsara, we start getting delusional about it, and we think that, man, I'll never get out of this. I'll always be here. This is just where I wind up. Those kind of things just don't happen for me. You know what I mean? I've never been lucky like that. You know, this is all I've ever known. And that's all putting a cap to that mental thought process of you. When those are the type of things that you're thinking and saying, then it's, I believe, a slippery road to be walking when you see the road with no safety net. And the world of recovery, the world of spirituality, the world of Buddhism, the world of the Dharma, to me, means I'm walking this middle path. No matter how slippery that middle path is, I walk with so much confidence, so much tranquility and calmness, because I know there's a safety net. Can't see it, but I know it's there. You know what I'm saying? And man, how comforting is that? That's just such a feeling that I've never had with the comfort of the addiction. You know what I'm saying? The addiction for me was the comfort. But moment by moment by moment by moment. And always led me to more and even worse dukkha, worse suffering. Dukkha meaning suffering, right? And so it's just kind of a way to look at things, right? And when you can break them down that way and kind of peg the pieces together to say, okay, wow, and now this is just what happened for me, you know what I mean? The consistency of indulging myself, practicing the Dharma, practicing meaning that spiritual path, has, man, led me to see the next step and the next step, and that is just a domino effect, you know what I'm saying? When you allow yourself to be teachable, when you allow yourself to get into that discomfort, because that's what you have to do to find the next step to tranquility, to calmness, to that Buddha nature, right? Is to involve yourself in the suffering. And that's where the spiritual connection and the recovery meet. Because you have to deal with the suffering. You have to get involved with the suffering so that you can alleviate the suffering, so that you can rid of that particular suffering, right? And in turn there, you get to the next move of your life, knowing that there's still going to be suffering there, but now you're equipped with something, you know what I'm saying? To deal with it. And that's what I love to call my recovery arsenal. My recovery arsenal is packed with just many different tools, man, that I've gathered throughout the years through the practice of my recovery, the practice of my spirituality, the practice of the Dharma, the practice of involving myself in the communities, going to the meetings, going and involving yourself in these ways of helping the addict who still suffers, helping that newcomer, right? And indulging yourself in diving deep into literature, because literature also has a lot of impact in my life. You know what I'm saying? I not only get the prajna of my fellow people, my tribe, my community, my sangha. You know what I'm saying? But I also get it from the literature that I involve myself in, and it's a lot. You know what I mean? I just picked up another book, Perfectly Willing. Man, what a great little book that is. I'm gonna have to, I'll have to share it with you guys one day, and kind of give you the gist of the book, and it's really, really insightful, man. Titled Perfectly Willing. If check it out, man. I'll have to talk about it in another segment, but you know, to get moving here on this that doubt, it says, while not all forms of doubt inhibit gaining serenity, three foremost ones do. This is what I love about this stuff, man, because they talk about this is the Buddhist book that's talking about serenity, man. And those of you who are part of recovery, man, you know that serenity is a big part of our world, right? So it's beautiful, man. So check this out. Doubt in ourselves prevents us from trying. I'm not capable of this. My intelligence is limited, and the defilements and seeds of destructive karma obscuring my mind are too great. Such unrealistic, self-denigrating thoughts paralyze. The opportunity to act to improve our situation, especially by employing the mind training methods, is always present. That is, you know, going back to what we were talking about earlier. When you have a vocabulary that you're using in your life of recovery and spirituality that automatically puts limits to that mental capacity of you, man, is that a dangerous thing to do? You know what I'm saying? Because it keeps you stuck in the world of samsara. You know what I'm saying? So you really have to be teachable to new language in a sense also. You know, a lot of us think that, you know, and this is for myself personally, people, places, and things had to be changed. I had to do drastic change in my life to move past the addiction. And not only is the people, places, and things a big part of that, but my vocabulary, man. My speech, the right speech, has been a very, very big thing in that also. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the next one here that they got is doubt in our spiritual mentor arises from looking only at his or her superficial characteristics with a judgmental attitude. My spiritual mentor's behavior is nothing special. He or she does not have any realization of the path. So what will I gain from following him or her? Considering ourselves wise enough to evaluate our spiritual mentor's practice, we are blind to our own arrogance. To be free, or to free ourselves from this doubt, Nagarjuna recommends that we think of gold in a smelly pouch. It's a metaphor. I love these things. Now, think of gold in a smelly pouch. If we want the gold, we have to take the pouch too. Then instead of dwelling on the mentor's shortcomings, we reflect that our mentor is instructing us in the Buddha's teaching, just as the Buddha himself would do. Rather than focus on the pouch, we direct our interest to the gold inside. Now, how many times have, I don't know about you, but I know in my own personal journey, man, there was times, like I said, I've been involved in the recovery world, in the recovery life, in the 12-step programs for many years, man. And dude, I'm telling you, I can remember having the very first time I did the 12 steps, I had somebody that was the counselor that was guiding me through the 12 steps, who was just, I just like, I can remember myself being really, when I look back at it now, I was like, wow, what a, you know, closed-minded person was I, that I allowed nothing to come into this little bubble of mine, right? Everything that I was doing was, I was just always right. It was always my way or the highway, and I always thought that that you know, I was like, man, this guy's full of crap. You know what I mean? What does he know? What does this white dude know about my Mexican life? You know, what does this white dude know about living in the barrio, living in the world of addiction, living in the world of you know, doing drugs and selling drugs? What does this dude know about any of that? You know what I'm saying? And go to figure, man, check this out. Because I doubted this person, and because I put those walls up, it wasn't until later, months later into doing this, that I understood a little bit more about this person. I understood when I found out that, wow, this dude, you know, spent 10 years in prison for manufacturing and do da-da-da-da-da, right? And then I was like, wow, then how funny is that because you see that, now you let this curtain down, now you're allowing this person to come down to your level, right? Now you see eye to eye with this person. Now you no longer see this barrier because you know something else about him. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm allowing myself to be teachable there. But because of the consistency of this person, of this mentor, consistently every day telling me, do this now, do that now. Think about this now. Look at it this way now. Contemplate this. Just many different things, and allowing myself to do that. And had I not, who knows? You know what I mean? Who knows what would have happened after that treatment center? You know what I'm saying? I could have very well not been alive, or been in prison or whatever, right? I'm very grateful to have. I'm grateful that the blocks, those people, those things that were put in front of my path, that I was able to take them and mold them like that clay into my suffering. And that is what's helped me move forward, right? And very beautiful stuff, man. So, and the third one is doubt in the Dharma makes us wonder if Buddhahood and the path to attain it exist. Very hard to do, you know what I'm saying? Very hard to you do that. The concept of a new person, or even somebody who has many years and still doubts a little bit of the literature, right? And again, and that spiritual path, same way, you know what I'm saying? No matter, regardless of the spiritual path that you take, it not only in Buddhism, but in many other spiritual paths, there's many books that spiritual communities abide by, right? And they learn from, and a lot of people have doubt in that literature. So I see where that doubt comes into play there. You know what I'm saying? Now, not knowing how to think clearly about the topic, our mind swirls in confusion. We need some patience. It's unrealistic to think that all our questions must be answered before we can do any Dharma practice at all. And by practicing what we understand, we increase our respect in the teachings and open our minds to understanding other topics. Now, Nagarjuna advises, I like Nagarjuna because he uses a bunch of metaphorical quotes that allows your mind to expand, because you have to decipher the metaphor, right? The riddle per se, right? So Nagarjuna says, just as when a person stands at a fork in the road and is confused by doubt that he goes nowhere at all. When you seek realization of the true character of phenomena, doubt acts in just the same way. We a lot of times I've been there in that fork of the road and not knowing what to do, and because I'm still stuck in this world of the addiction, my choice leads me. The illusion, it looks like it's leading me in a different direction, but come full circle, I'm back in the addiction, right? Very hard thing to do when you have the doubt. You know what I'm saying? Now, because you remain doubtful, you don't diligently seek to realize the true character of phenomena, the dharmamata. This doubt comes forth from confusion. Among all detrimental mental factors, it is the worst. And it is, man, because when you have doubt, it keeps you in that loop, man, that same thing happening. Why can't I get out of this, man? And that's the fear, that's the doubt, that is that, right? And until you allow yourself to be teachable, I think, in my own opinion, this is just me, this is my personal, because this is just, I always reflect things back to my personal journey, you know what I mean? Because I was always doubtful of the programs, I was always doubtful of the spiritual path, and thinking especially in both actually, right? What do these people know about my life and I'm not addicted. I get high because I like it. You know what I'm saying? That was my quote, man. That was my line always. You know what I'm saying? I don't get high because I'm addicted. I'm an addict. I get high because I love to do it, and because I put that in my head and limited myself to that mental thought process. That's where I stayed. You know what I'm saying? So and also in the spiritual path, I always had these concepts of how is this teaching of thousands of years ago work in my life today? It makes no sense to me. There's no connection there. And I thought like that for many years, and practicing the Buddhist way for me, this is just my personal journey, allowed me to understand the decipherings of the parables, of the metaphors, of the riddles. And that's what, when you have those things, that activates that thing in you. That activates the karma yoga, that karma thing, because the karma is the action yoga. That means you're seeking something. And when you seek, you decipher. When you seek, you change. You know what I'm saying? Really cool stuff, man. Now, although you may possess doubts while abiding in the world, you should still accord with the sublime and virtuous Dharma. Just as when you contemplate a fork in the road, you should follow the path which is most beneficial. And the practice gives you that. The practice, the consistency of a spiritual program, of a recovery program, gives you that prajna, the wisdom to make the right choice, to see things in the right view. You know what I'm saying? That's where you are able to choose the right path when you get to that fork, to whatever adversity is holding you up in your life today. You know what I'm saying? Now, the 5 hindrances. Now, this last part of this 2 paragraphs here has a bunch of Buddhist stuff in here, so kind of bear with me, and we'll get to that. And so don't freak out on me here. So now the hindrances are subsumed in the 3 poisons and are related to the 84,000 afflictions. The hindrances of sensual desire is the potion of attachment. And in world of addiction, man, do we know attachment? Now the hindrance of malice is the poison of anger. And do we know anger? The hindrance of lethargy and sleepiness and doubt are the poisons of confusion. And do we know that, man? How many times have you just wanted to stay asleep and not wake up? Just like you didn't want to deal with that anymore. You're just like, man, it just brings you down, right? Okay, there's very, very, very interwoven concepts of Buddhism that relate very well with recovery, man. Now, and the hindrance of restlessness and regret is based on all 3 poisons. You know what I'm saying? And how many times have I have allowed the anger and the attachment and the lethargy, the sleepiness, really just give me that sense of regret and that sense of restlessness. You know what I'm saying? And that's the cyclical cycle of samsara, of the dukkha, keeps you in that thing, man. And that's the hard thing to do. That is what keeps us in that world of addiction, in that world of suffering, of depression and anxiety and all that stuff, right? So these 4 categories, attachment, anger, confusion, and all 3, or these 4 categories, and the attachments, anger, confusion, and all three each subsume 21,000 afflictions for a total of 84,000. This goes deep with Buddhist teachings here. So, if you're interested, then you just, research it, right? But it's a beautiful, beautiful concept and a beautiful way to understand things. Now, by applying antidotes to the 3 poisons and 5 hindrances, all afflictions are overcome. Probably the best line in that whole paragraph right there. I'm going to read that again. By applying antidotes to the 3 poisons and 5 hindrances, all afflictions are overcome. And that is the Bodhisattva way. Because the Bodhisattva way is trying to alleviate the suffering of all sentient beings, including your own, man. Now, Zihi says that a practitioner who has successfully suppressed these 5 through serenity is like a person who has recovered from a threatening disease, a famished person arriving in a land of plenty, and a hostage being released from terrorists. Her mind is peaceful, responsive, clear, and blissful. Suppressing afflictions through serenity gives us temporary respite. Only insight into emptiness will eradicate the hindrance forever. Man, is that last part there so... It's beautiful, man, because that to me, I see the interconnectedness with recovery so much right there. The serenity is like a person who has recovered from a threatening disease. And man, how many times in these rooms of any 12-step program have you heard that prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, the wisdom to know the difference. The serenity, man. And that just comes with the consistency. You can't have serenity, my friends, without the consistency of a spiritual and recovery practice. You know what I'm saying? And I hate to sound cliche-ish, but it's the fact. You know what I mean? Those things are there because they're proven methods in recovery and spirituality. They're proven methods, man, of people who have gone before and reached the other side. You know what I'm saying? And continue to live a life, a productive and successful life, a beautiful life of serenity, of recovery, of spirituality, with the suffering, because the suffering is still there. You're just looking at it in a different way. You're talking about it in a different way. You're acting your life with it in a certain way. That gives you the serenity, that gives you the peace, that gives you that calmness, that just beautiful feeling, man. You know what I'm saying? That blissful feeling that I was talking about. And man, do I know that feeling well? You know what I'm saying? And has it really, in my personal life, has it really been amplified through my spiritual practice of Buddhism? Now that's just my way, you know what I'm saying? And your way could be my way. It could be a different way. But that's the beautiful thing about spirituality, that there's many different avenues. There's many different choices in that fork of the road that when you reach it, with the consistency of involving yourself in that community, involving yourself in those meetings, involving yourself in the service work to help the addict, to help the person who's still suffering. You know what I'm saying? And so it's beautiful stuff, man. I hope I wasn't all over the place today, but I just got to thinking, man, I'm just going to just wing it, right? And just see what we can come up with today. And there you go. That's the message for today, man. So I really appreciate you guys watching and sticking out with this long with me, man. I hope something today was said that really is helpful for you today. That you look at things a different way, that little bit of suffering that you're going through, know that it's of impermanence, and perhaps something that I said today will help you with that. That's the whole point, right? Now, if you would, at this time, please hit the subscribe button. Go like, go subscribe, share the channel. That's the only way that we can grow. It's the only way to spread the message to the addict who still suffers, is just by spreading the message, man, and helping, right? So I hope that that's what this video does. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your donation. It's much appreciative. Now I'm gonna ring us out. If you would, please indulge me in a moment of silence. Nam myo renge kyo, nam myo renge kyo, nam myo renge kyo. Eternal Buddha Shakyamuni, thank you for guiding me. All sentient beings connected myself, everyone out there, thank you for guiding each other. Hope that the energies stay with you throughout the week. And if not, just know that all you got to do is return to the breath, return to that energy of you. Because all it takes is one deep breath, man, and you're right back to the energies that ground you. Thank you for watching the video. I appreciate it. I am the Recovery Plug, and we'll watch you next time. Thank you.